Welcome in, college hockey fans in the desert Southwest, around the world, around the United States, Canada, anywhere you can hear us on the podcast. This is College Hockey Southwest Weekly. As you can see, if not, you will soon hear my co-host on Long Island, New York, Paul Hornstein.
Hello.
Scott Strandy here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Back to a Tuesday, Paul. Feels good. The schedule is getting back to normal, as I call it. We finished up a weekend here at Oceanside. Now we got what I'm calling the biggest weekend in their season to date.
Yeah, well,
and their season,
really?
I say the Arizona State Sun Devils.
You're going to go out on a limb with that? Say that? That's very gutsy of you.
The funny part is when I say that, then everybody goes, "Yeah, but we still got to win the games afterwards." I'm going, "Well, yeah, that's a duh."
You got to win these first. You can't worry about the one. You can't worry about Saturday night until you play Friday night. So
right.
But this is not.
Here's the thing. In the pairwise, we are talking about number 11 Arizona State against number 8 right now in the Clarkson
Golden Knights.
What are they? Golden Knights. Yeah. How could I forget the Golden Knights?
Absolutely. Because there was an issue a few years ago with team names. But that's a different sport. Well, it's the same sport. It's just a different league and different level. But it's the Clarkson Golden Knights.
So that's where we stand this weekend, as the Arizona State Sun Devils will charter out on Thursday to Pottsdam, New York, and then come back 11:30 as their scheduled charter departure for coming home on Saturday night afterwards. So. Smart move, as you and I talked about off camera. They charter once a year. This is a great time to charter because, as you said, it's very difficult for you to get there, much less getting there from ASU.
Yeah, if we both left at the same time,
they'd beat you.
They'd beat me there, and I'm in New York.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so that should give you an idea of what kind of travel that would be without a charter flight.
All right, let's clean up a couple of things first and foremost. The first thing is we don't have Coach today. He rushed out after practice, and this time I saw him rush out, and he did throw a comment at me as he went by and said, "Yeah, we have to go to these meetings because if we don't, we get docked." So him and the coaches took off to go to their mandatory meetings at ASU. So there was no media availability with him. He did take off. I did tell him, I said, "Good luck this weekend, Coach." He said, "Thank you," and off he went. So we instead took on 2 Pitchfork Profiles, which, every week these just get more fun and more fun for me, if that's a word that I can use or a phrase I can use. They're very enjoyable. Let's put it that way. I brought 2 freshmen in today. They're called affectionately by the coaches the Twins because they basically do everything together. Only they couldn't be farther from the truth in Twins because one is from British Columbia, the other is from Michigan. It's hilarious, but
I think it's warmer in British Columbia than it does in certain parts of Michigan. So you could be right about that.
The funny part, and I don't want to lead too much into it because you want everybody to hear it, but when I visited with Jacob Semik, I ended the message. I said, because one played for Team Canada in, of all places, Bonnyville, Alberta,
right?
The home of the Paschniks.
Yeah,
and
both of them
played. And played for Team Canada there, which I thought was kind of unique. And then, so I had to ask Jacob Semik about winning a gold medal in the Youth Olympics when they went to Lillehammer, Norway. And I told him, I said, I'm 100% Norwegian, and I'm jealous to the bone that you got to go there and I didn't. And he had a good chuckle at that. And then we ended the conversation by I said, "What's the story I heard the other day when I watched you guys play a little USA versus Canada, Latvia?" And he got a really good chuckle. You have to hear what he said when it comes out, but it was funny. And then he said, "We had a rematch yesterday and we lost again, but I just want you guys to know that neither one of them were sanctioned, so they don't count." He said, "The next time we do this, the Americans are going to take the 2 Latvians and the Chinese kid."
Oh, good. Yeah, good. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
So it was pretty good, but that was it was pretty comical. I really enjoyed those 2, so hopefully that you will enjoy them as well. And then the other thing that I'm going to throw out there, I told them that today, and I'm telling Paul Hornstein for the first time, there's a new hashtag going for me right now. It's called New Gear. And everybody said, New Gear? What, they get new uniforms? I'm saying no. I believe the Sun Devils have finally
found...
That's
not exactly a...
that wouldn't be breaking news, though, Paul.
No, it wouldn't be.
But what I saw the last 2
weekends
is a new gear. And let me explain where that term comes from, or that statement comes from, or phrase, whatever you want to call it. At the beginning of the season, Coach Powers told me that his team was 50% of their potential. 2 months ago, he told me they were 75% of their potential. Last weekend, he said they're getting close, but they still haven't reached their potential. Well, I saw two things that I call championship DNA, and here they are. They were down, which they shouldn't have been to Brown, but they came back and won a game that they had no business winning after the way they played. So kudos to them for finding that new gear. Last weekend, that weekend was destined to be a split until they decided that they were going to step it up and beat the competition they were playing and win the hockey game, which they did. Mm-hmm. And I think they found a new gear. I think now they realize that we can't mess around. We're running out of days in the hockey season. We're running out of games, and we need to start putting some wins together.
Well,
hence hashtag new gear.
Well, they have put some wins together, so I don't want. I can't. That is what it is. They've swept the last two series, and they've needed to, without a doubt, needed to sweep these last two series. And you know, if you can't play hard now, then when are you going to be able to do it?
Absolutely, absolutely. But some teams try to play hard, but they can't find that next gear. And I think this team, I've been wondering all season long, do they have a next gear? And, you and I have talked about losing Dylan Holman and Anthony Croston and how much that maybe meant to this team. And did they have an Anthony Croston and a Dylan Holman combo somewhere in the lineup, or were there more guys that were going to pick it up? I think we know now the answer to that. They have some guys that can pick it up. We saw some guys play pretty well. I really wanted to visit with Gavito Janssens because I thought Gavito had an outstanding Saturday night game on defense, and he hasn't played very much at all this year, but stepped up when they needed him to. And I thought Willie Niram was strong. And what do you say about my two freshman defensemen that we laughed and joked about that? They ended up on a rush together, and they said, Coach Field said that we needed to jump into the play, but I don't think he meant we were both supposed to take it up the ice. So he said a good thing. Semik told me good thing Juddy finished that off, because if he hadn't, it would have made me look pretty bad. So
listen, I can totally agree with you. There is no question that you do. It didn't really dawn on me at the time as you're watching it, because you're just kind of focused on what's happening, not is necessarily all the time exactly specifics. And when you don't get a chance to see replays, you just are focused on following things. And afterwards, I'm like, they had that was a 2-on-1 with defensemen. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
I saw it one other time. Maniscalco and Passionate took it a couple weeks ago, wasn't it? That the two of them went on a 2-on-1?
I don't know. It may not have registered. Who knows? But you certainly don't see it end up in a goal.
No.
No. Because it's one thing to see one guy rush, but two guys, usually one guy stays back. And that's where a team game comes in. If you're one of the forwards and sees that, you've got to stay back. It didn't end up being anything because they scored, so nobody had to worry about that. But it was big goal. Every goal that they got this weekend really was a big goal, to be honest with you.
No, well, let me also tell you about practice today real quick before we get going any deeper. But practice today was, as they started, 4 groups, puck management, a lot of puck management. One-on-one battles from the corner, one-on-one battles at center ice inside the circle that Coach Powers was overseeing himself. This is definitely a highlight of what he wants to do against not only Clarkson, but every game down the stretch has managed the puck. He's told me that now for about 2.5 months. They need better puck management. Well, today they displayed it for the better part of practice. Then they did some little 4-on-4, 5-on-5 full ice type drills, and he would stop it, and they would go to the power play, and the penalty kill unit would come out. So they worked on those. It wasn't a very long practice, but it was an intense practice, and it looked like the guys were being given a message. I think it was received.
Well, let's hope so, because this week is going to be about as tough a weekend as they've had all year. They played Denver, but that series was at home. Not to take away anything from Denver, but the ASU did have home ice advantage, and we're 40 seconds away from sweeping that series. This is on the road, and this is a team that stylistically ASU has not matched up well with in the past.
Absolutely.
So this is going to be a very, very telling series. And I don't know if you want to get into, previewing this, talking about this week coming up before we get into last weekend, but we can do that. This is a really good. Okay,
let's get into last weekend, and then
okay.
we'll visit with our Pitchfork Profiles. Then we'll come back and do the preview. So we'll end on the preview part of it. So last weekend, RIT, they came in fired up, as you would expect. They hadn't won many games recently, so they were battling a little bit on that end of it. They had to play at Oceanside for the first time, and probably more importantly, they remember getting swept by ASU on their home ice last season.
Right, and they came out, and they were definitely the better team at the beginning of Friday night's game. I thought as the first period wore on that even though ASU had the lead, that RIT was the better team to the first half, the first 10, 12 minutes of the first period before ASU, finally started to slowly turn the tide. They had a big penalty kill early. Max Project came up with some really, really big saves on the penalty kill. And, he kept them in that 1-0 lead, throughout that period. ASU was not generating a lot of offense. And even into the second period, RIT tied it up pretty early in the second period. And, their goaltender, Drackett, robbed Johnny Walker.
Did he ever?
Oh, my Lord. I wasn't sure if Johnny missed the net on that play or if he was robbed. And, everybody, I guess whoever did get to watch some video afterward did get to see that the goalie, Logan Drackett, made the save. So, ASU went into that third period of the Friday night game tied at 1. And the way the game was going, it was a nail biter. And I think that you'd be foolish not to admit that. But then Max Project makes another big save at the beginning of the third period, and before you know it, ASU scored basically the 4 quickest goals in school history. They got a couple of bounces. They got some odd man rushes. They got some face-off wins, and they put it away with those 4 goals in 2 minutes and 17 seconds. So, the score was 5-1, but it was a little bit more of a nail biter than I'm sure anybody wanted it to be.
Well, it was 5-1, and it could have been 6-1 if Johnny Walker gets his lacrosse goal to go in as he wrapped it around behind the net. So I don't know if you saw that one clearly, but it was a pretty close play where he hit the pipe, actually.
This is, I'm still looking at the fact that Drackett made that great save. ASU struggled once again on the power play, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But, 4 goals, 2 minutes, that's going to win you a lot of games.
Yeah, well,
they're again usually get those explosions, but they did.
Hashtag new gear. They found a way to go into a new gear and put somebody away when they had to. And every player to a man will tell you they've been waiting all season to find a way to close out teams, and they closed them out. Saturday night, your thoughts?
I thought it was a back and forth game. I think that early in the game that I don't know if it was just RIT playing more desperate than ASU.
Oh, that's a fact. That's a fact.
The biggest problem ASU had in that first period was two clear defensive mistakes, leading to not only a delayed penalty goal, but a power play goal or turnovers. And they, as coach said in the post game, two mistakes ended up in the back of the net in the first period, and those are mistakes that you can't do.
Right.
As somebody who has coached ice hockey or any level of hockey that matters, you cannot go out of your way to hit somebody.
Right.
Okay? And that's what happened in that first period. When you go out of your way to hit somebody, you put yourself out of position.
Yep.
Okay? And the guy didn't have the puck. They got hit up high. So
to get a penalty out of the deal?
Not only did RIT get a goal off the delayed penalty, they also got a power play out of the deal. Just not a smart move. And then the second mistake that was made, there was a pinch that was way too deep for a guy that doesn't quite have the catch-up speed.
Yeah.
Is that a fair way to put it? Just wasn't played smart. And ASU also struggled once again with the power play in that first period. So those two things combined to go into the rest of the game down. And then ASU early in the second period can't make a clearing play. It goes down 3-1.
Yep.
And it seems like every mistake that they made got capitalized on by RIT. So
yeah, and that's exactly, I don't know if you saw the photos that we put up, but that's exactly what led to Mac's project coming out. Coach said it wasn't really Max's fault.
Wasn't.
He gave up 3 goals and 5 shots, and all three of them were point blank. But you have to make a change just to try to rattle the team a little bit, shake them up, and give credit to Evan DeBrouwer. He came in stone cold and shut the door the rest of the way. He didn't let anything by him the rest of the way. So, that's why you have goaltending tandems, so that when one guy, because nobody was better than Mac's project Friday night, and nobody was better than Evan DeBrouwer the 2 periods that he played on Saturday night.
And then ASU makes some basic plays. They win a face-off, get a goal off a face-off for the second week in a row. Right. Create a turnover, put the puck in the back of the net, and now the game is tied once again going into the third period. And win a period, win a game. So that's what it was. It came down to each night winning the third period.
Well, two things I want to throw out there. We talked a little bit about the power play. The power play changed midstream. Everything was set up this time to Josh Maniscalco, the fighter. Josh has been having a problem hitting the net, though, which is not a good thing when you're shooting from that point. And then they changed it up, and they started doing some movement across near the blue line.
Well,
they pass it, go across, pass it, go across. That's something that they hadn't been doing that I can remember all year.
And here's the key to that, though, Scott. The puck movement was much, much quicker. If you had looked at the power plays before that, and you're there, I'm not. I can only go by what I see, but it's not a coincidence that on that last 6th power play that ASU got in that game, And honestly, I kept expecting ASU to get called for a penalty throughout that game because RIT had 2 penalties in a row, 3 penalties in a row, 4 penalties in a row. And these games are reffed by human beings, and the natural tendency is like, and on that 6th and final power play, hey, they moved the puck really quickly. They got a very much a needed power play goal that gave them some breathing room. So,
absolutely.
And then, of course, when I did finally expect ASU to get a penalty, I wasn't expecting it to be the goalie.
Right. The goalie with a trip, right?
I was not expecting it to be the goalie. Thankfully, they had the 2-goal lead, so
it was a bit of a cushion, so it wasn't quite as nerve-wracking on that end of it. But I mean, we all thought about it. We were sitting there going,
the goalie got a penalty. I expected a penalty. Can't lie saying I expected the goalie to be the one to get the penalty. So,
well, the bottom line of it is, Paul, they got through the series with 2 wins. 15, 8, and 3 right now as we stand.
Going from 14 in the pairwise to 11 in the pairwise, which is huge.
Absolutely.
We learned that last year. They finished 10th in the pairwise, and gave them some room to survive the conference tournaments.
Yep, exactly.
And so that's a round where you're going to want to be again, is that 10 or 11 spot to give you that breathing room, because at 10 it takes 4+ conference upsets. To prevent you from getting into the NCAA tournament. When you're at 13 or 14, you have you are rooting pure chalk, and even that might not be enough. So this, as we know, is a big weekend, and we talk about that in a couple of minutes. But
let's take a quick break. Let's bring in our 2 Pitchfork profiles, Jack Judson and Jacob Semik, the 2 freshman defensemen who have been mainstays since the very start. Then you and I will come back. We'll wrap things up, a little preview of a trip to Clarkson, a team that we saw up close and personal last Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back. Welcome in, hockey fans in the Desert Southwest. It's another Pitchfork Profile. I got a freshman with me, but I can't really call him a freshman anymore because Jack Judson, you've been starting on this team in the starting lineup, lineup as a regular since day one. So, British Columbia native. Let's start off with that. Tell me a little bit about growing up near Vancouver.
Obviously from Canada, just about 45 minutes outside of Vancouver. It's been great playing up there, and played junior in Vernon in the interior, which was also a great place to play. They really love their hockey up there, so I just really enjoyed it so far.
Coach Powers tells me that you were a commit for a long time. What drew you to Arizona State University?
Yeah, I committed back when I was 16. It's one of the first offers I had, but I just really trusted what the coaches said and believed in the program. And obviously they weren't, ranked as high as we are now, but I knew we'd eventually get there, and I'm just really happy with my decision.
I always like to ask people when they come down here to play at Oceanside. A lot of people will say, this is like where I grew up playing hockey, things like that. Yeah. How does Oceanside fit your game?
You hear that a lot. Might not be as nice as some other teams' rinks, but we played really well in it, and honestly, it's a good ice size for me. Like I'm more of a small rink player, to be honest. Be able to read plays, and I really like playing in it.
So when you came in here, you were immediately paired with another freshman in Jacob Semik. Yeah. You guys seem to mesh right away, and you've gotten better as the season goes along. What's your relationship like on and off the ice with Jacob?
We're really close. We live together. We pretty much do everything together. The coaches actually call us the twins, so I think that chemistry really helps us out on the ice.
Last weekend, I thought may have been one of your best weekends for both of you. You both jumped into the play. You got a 2-on-1 rush, right, the two of you? Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that one.
Yeah, that was awesome. You don't really see 2D leading the rush too much, but Coach Fieldsy said to us before the weekend he wants us to get up in the play more and trust our legs, so that's what we did, and it seemed to work out for us, so hopefully he can build off that.
So as a defenseman here at Arizona State University, you got two pretty good ones in front of you, Brinson Pashnuk and Josh Maniscalco. What have you learned from them since you've been here?
They're great leaders, great guys on and off the ice. A couple of guys you kind of want to model your game after. They're obviously very offensive, but they're also very reliable players for us. So I've been able to. It's nice to be under a couple of guys like that who've been through it and have that veteran presence, and they're really good role models.
The other thing for you is you're young, right? You came right in, didn't spend a whole lot of time growing up before you got here, and you got Demetrius Komentzis, who came in very young too. But has he taught you anything just from the fact that you're young with these guys?
Yeah, I mean he came in real early, true freshman, so kind of picked his brain a bit at the start of the year. But yeah, I mean there's a lot of great guys in the locker room, so it wasn't too hard to come in as a young guy and fit in with the group.
Speaking of fitting in with the group, you come in early in your freshman year, you get to take a trip to China, then you go to Alaska, then you go to the East Coast. You've been all over the place. Did you ever think you're going to travel this much as a freshman hockey player?
Honestly, I've thought about that a few times. It's pretty cool. Like, growing up, you don't really think about, like, all these places you're going to get to go, like East Coast and China, and just pretty much everywhere we've gone. It's, like, almost the first time I've been to every place, so it's been really cool to be all over.
A lot of people will say that at Arizona State that the hockey's not great in the desert Southwest, but you've had a chance to be here now for almost a year, and you've had a chance to see the hockey here. How good is the hockey in the desert Southwest?
I mean, you can see it's just growing at a very fast rate, and I don't think people give it enough credit that it deserves. And if you play here, you get to see the hype it deserves. And I mean, it's really growing down here. So I think as the program goes on, people respect it more.
And I look at the team, and I've done this for 5 years now. I've covered you since before you were a team, basically. And I look at it, I kind of pick out numbers, and I call it my magic number at the beginning of the year, and I say, this is what I think you guys need to do to accomplish the opportunity to get to an NCAA tournament for a number of reasons. First of all, you don't have a conference, so you got to earn your way in. Last year, the guys did it. This year, I set the bar a little higher. I said you guys need 24 wins based on the schedule. So you got 9 games to get that goal, 10 games to play. I know you guys want to think of it one at a time, but how important would it be to repeat to get back to that national tournament?
Oh, it's very important. I don't think we'd be satisfied with anything, at least getting to the tournament. If we want to do more than that too. We want to compete for national championships. So, as you said, being not in a conference, very important to win games that we should, and so it puts a little pressure on us. But I think we're up for the challenge.
And as I watch you guys developed all season long, I called something, I came up with a new hashtag this weekend. I said new gear, because what I found was you guys took a step last weekend and this weekend. This weekend had split written all over it until the third period, and then all of a sudden there was a new gear. What does it say about your team?
I mean, I think we're a very conditioned team. Leanne early pushed us off the ice, so I think when the third period comes around, we're not going to be as tired as some teams, and it just shows how our group's kind of building now, that we can go into the third period with a tie and then come out in pretty dominant fashion both the last 2 games. So,
Coach Powers told me at the beginning of the year, he said, this team's got a lot of potential, but they're about halfway there at the start of the season. And then about a month ago, I said, where are they at? And he said, 75%.
Yeah.
In your mind, where's this team at as far as potential?
I mean, I don't want to put a percent on it, but I think I don't think we've played our best hockey yet. I still think we have room for improvement, which is actually a really good thing, because we've beaten some good teams, and we haven't even gotten to our full potential. So that's a good sign for us going down the road.
Is it safe to say that you guys are starting to peak right now, and that you're hoping the NCAA tournament is where you guys get and peak?
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe to say, and it's a really important time in the season. It's crunch time now, and every game's really important, so we got to be going on all cylinders.
All right, we talked a lot about hockey, but let's talk a little bit about being a student athlete. What's it like? What's adjustment been for you coming into a campus with 50,000 people on it, and the weather here in Arizona? What's it been like?
It's a bit of a change from up north on the West Coast, but it's obviously beautiful here, and the campus probably one of the nicest in the country. So it was kind of an adjustment getting back into school because I took a year off with junior and that gap year. So, but I had a pretty good first semester, so I'm kind of used to it now and in the swing of it.
You know, Coach Powers strives on finding athletes that are student athletes, right?
Yeah.
He pushes the books real hard. Tell me a little bit about what that's like when you have to travel the way you have and compete the way you are at this level. What's it like to have to study, too?
Yeah, he puts a lot of emphasis on being a good student in person, and you know, I just with some of the other freshmen, we'll get together and just get our schoolwork done and try and get out of the way before a game, and you know, just make sure we're not missing any assignments. But it's been going good so far. When you have teammates that are going with it too, so.
Okay, let's wrap things up by talking a little bit about growing up and your style of play.
Okay.
Tell me sometimes about what you remember growing up in BC and what got you interested in hockey, and what's your style? Who do you want to mimic your game after?
I think my style, I don't know, sometimes I'm a little feisty out there. Maybe seen it a few times this year. It's kind of hard being a freshman, you know. You can't necessarily be that guy right away, but you know, I consider myself a two-way guy and like to get up into the play, but I also pride myself on D a lot. So that's kind of how I've grown up playing.
As a kid, when do you remember putting on the skates for the first time, and what's one of your biggest memories as a kid growing up?
I think I was about 7 or 8 when I started, maybe like a year after most of my friends. I was a little shy at first, so it's kind of hard getting out there, but then I just grew to love it. And one of my biggest memories as a kid was probably winning the John Reed Memorial Tournament in Bantam. It's probably one of the most prestigious Bantam tournaments, so that's kind of my first really cool memory as a young kid.
You also played in a tournament in Bonnyville, didn't you?
Yep.
Pretty big tournament.
Yeah, World Junior A.
Tell me a little bit about that one, and did you know at that point that 2 of your teammates were Bonnyville natives?
I did know they were. Yeah, I did know they were on ASU. I didn't really know a lot about them yet, but yeah, you kind of when you grow up, you don't really expect playing for like Team Canada or anything with the Maple Leafs. So that was just a huge honor to be able to represent my country in some way.
All right, Jack Judson, thanks a lot for the time. I can't call you a freshman much anymore because you're growing quickly, but congratulations so far on the success. Continue it on, and let's see you in the national tournament.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.
Welcome in, hockey fans. I got the other half of the defensive pairing. I got the twins today. I got Jack Judson first. Now I got Jacob Semik with me. I just talked to your defensive partner, right? And I asked him, I said, what's it like to come in here as a freshman and join this team, but not only join the team, but be a mainstay from the very start? Your thoughts?
Oh, it's awesome. It's obviously nice having guys that I've played with in the past, like Maniscalco, to kind of lead the way is a huge part of our team. And then having a guy like Judson who's in the same exact scenario is a big help for us because we can kind of relate to each other, whether it's being in the weight room or on the ice. We kind of play a similar style. So we struggle with the same things and we excel in the same things. So it's really easy to kind of have someone that exactly knows how you feel about everything.
You know, I asked Coach Powers last year, I said, what are you going to do for defensemen? He said, oh, I got a couple that are coming in that are going to be special. And I said, oh, you're talking about Brinson and Maniscalco? He said, no, I'm talking about Judson and Semik. What did he tell you when he recruited you? What did he tell you about what you could do here?
You know, he just said I'd have an opportunity here, and he was very black and white with me. He said you'd have an opportunity to play, and he didn't guarantee any type of ice time. He just said you'll have an opportunity and get your chance, and I kind of just ran with it. So, I mean, he didn't guarantee anything. He just kind of said, look, like you'll have an opportunity here, and I just kind of took advantage of that opportunity, I guess.
So as we talk in January, so many things have happened for this program over its inception the last 4.5 years. But this year especially, it's been weird, right? You started early, you went to China, then you came back, you went to Alaska, then you had 3 weeks off in the middle of the season. Then all of a sudden you get into a stretch of 13 straight, which you're now getting close to the end on, and you guys have held up. What's it been like as a player?
It's been good. I think coming from junior hockey, you play a lot of games, so you're really kind of used to the grind, but it's the perfect team to be able to do this type of schedule with. We're very close. And we have a really good leadership, so it's been an easy transition with all these games, and even on the weeks off, staying dialed in. It's a help when you have guys that are older like that really lead the way, like Brinson, and teach you, like, all right, well, this week's off, but we also got to be prepared because in 3 weeks we got to be able to have an A game. So basically our leadership kind of helped us with that, and especially the younger guys and how close our team is.
You know, when I look at your team right now, and I hashtagged a new one this week, I call it New Gear, right? Because you guys showed me something last weekend and this past weekend. In Brown, you came back from behind and you just took things upon yourself and won a hockey game. This weekend, it had split written all over it the way you played the first couple of periods on Saturday night. And all of a sudden, you found what I call new gear. Is that new gear something that's new, or is that something that's been hiding in this team for a while?
I think for our team, we obviously have been trying to get over the hump, and we've kind of battled a couple weeks here. And these last 2 weekends have really been a showing tale of how our team really is, and really taking that next step, which is what we've been trying to do leading into a team like Clarkson, and making sure we can really close out a team. And we did that on Saturday night, even coming from behind. And it's just going to help us in the long run, because in the big games you might have to play from behind, and we've kind of been in every scenario now where we can handle anything, I think. And it's good to get that out of the way early, because you don't want to face it in the end and not know what to do.
So as part of this stretch, you ran into a bunch of Saturday, Sunday games, which is uncommon in NCAA hockey. Is that difficult as a player to play when you're programmed all week long to play Friday, Saturday night? Has that been an effect on you guys?
Yeah, you know, it's different, but with Leanne and being so dialed in with us in the weight room, she's very good at getting us prepared for that quick turnaround. So it's something you get used to. You've done it kind of your whole life, but it's definitely, you got to take care of your body extra after the Friday night game, or the Saturday night game, if you will, going into the 3 p.m. Sunday game. So Leanne does a great job with us with recovery and making sure that we're able to play. And either way, both teams have to deal with it. So we're used to it at this point, and it's only going to help us, like I said, in case we have one later on.
Okay, speaking of later on, the team made the national tournament last year, something like 30 years since an independent did it. I set you guys up on a little magic number thing, because I look at the schedule early in the year and I go, okay, this is what I think they must do to compete. I said the magic number was 24 wins. You got 9 left to get there. You got 10 games to do it. I know you want to do it one game at a time, but making that national tournament's important, isn't it?
Yeah, for us, especially with them making it this year, I think, or last year, for us, it's tournament or bust. That's how we kind of look at it. We're not trying to just have a good season. We're all here trying to make the tournament, and that's being an independent team. That's our big time goal, and overall winning a national championship. So we're not here to just have a good season and have fun. Like, we want to make the national tournament, and that it's a bust for us if we don't make it at this point.
You know, I guess technically you're a freshman, but some of the plays you made last weekend definitely moved you out of the freshman category in my mind. Tell me about the 2-on-1 with your defensive partner.
Well, it's kind of a breakaway. I was at the end of my shift, so I was trying not to make it about me, because I saw Morocco and then Judson coming up, and PJ actually did a great job on that play, because he drove the net hard, which pushed back their D. And by pushing back their D, he was focused on me and PJ, and then I kind of just slid it over to Judson, and he did his thing, and he scored a great goal. So, I mean, without him obviously scoring, I look a little bit off there, but whatever. It worked out. We're just going to pretend I meant to do it like that. So,
Jetty told me that Coach Fields said, I want you guys to step up in the play a little more. True?
Yeah, true. He kind of challenged us last week to take that step. I think as a freshman, you come here and you don't want to really mess up, because especially with guys like Brinson and Maniscalco, who are really, really, really good players, and you're kind of just don't want to be that pair that messes up. And being freshmen, you kind of got to earn the coach's trust. And once we kind of found out that we earned his trust, he kind of challenged us to, hey, like, look, we know you can do this perfect and you can do this good or whatever, but we want you to do more because we know you can, and that's all it took for us. And it was nice to have their support. It's always, you never really know as a freshman if you have the coach's full support to go and jump and make plays, but the coaches here are unbelievable with trusting you and letting you develop.
You know, part of that trust factor is the power play, obviously, and I saw he's moved you guys around. He's put you up with the first offensive pairing, if you will. Although your team is so balanced, who knows? But what's it like to be able to work with guys like Johnny Walker and Sanchez and Willie Needham up front?
Oh, they're great players. I played with Sanchez and Nierman and Dubuque, and then Walker's obviously the best goal scorer in college hockey. So it's great to play with them. I mean, every time you get a shift with them, you know you're going to be in the offensive zone and you're going to be making plays. So it's good when you play with guys that are especially up for the Hobie Baker and guys that are excelling here. And watching them kind of their path, it's just awesome to see and glad to be a part of it for them.
Okay, so let's talk Dubuque, right? You played at Dubuque. I joked with your teammates and when I talked with Willie, and I said, you know what happens is it seems like there's a direct line from Dubuque to ASU. What's the connection there? Is it just coincidence?
I mean, I think part of it's a coincidence, but at the same time, Mike Field was assistant coach there, so he kind of has the scoop. He obviously knows all the billet coordinators and all the staff there. He stays in touch pretty well, but I mean, it's the best university to play hockey at. So I mean, any junior player, anywhere would want to come here. So it's just kind of a coincidence that we all ended up here.
All right, let's wrap it up by talking about growing up playing hockey. I always like to get the inside scoop on you guys. When did you start playing? What are some of the memories you have of youth hockey, and what got you to this point?
Oh, I think I started really early. I think 2 or 3. My parents didn't play. They learned hockey through me. My dad was like a baseball guy and bowling, like, and golf, like the worst sports. But my mom she played sports too, I'll have to admit, but she's not very whatever. She says she played sports, but they just learned through me, and they kind of just said, here, like, he likes it. Like, they were very hands-off, I'd say. They just let me have fun with it, and it just kind of worked out. And then grew up with the Little Caesars organization for seven years, I think. And then when I got a little older, Honey Baked, and then that was kind of it.
Okay, you did win a gold medal, though, for Team USA, I'm told.
Yeah, I did with Youth Olympics. They're in the championship tomorrow, actually, for the next wave, so I'll be rooting for them. So, yeah, I got lucky enough to win one of those, and it's just right place, right time, I guess.
So I'm 100% Norwegian, and you got to go to Norway, and I'm jealous right down to my bone on that because I haven't been there. What was Norway like?
Oh, it's beautiful. We stayed in the Olympic Village, and a lot of mountains, a lot of snow, but it was awesome. The town, the people there was awesome, and being in a place like that where the fan base was so cool for all the games too, and playing for your country, it was a really cool experience.
All right, final one. Last week in practice, you had a little battle, right? You had USA versus Canada, Latvia. Tell me a little bit about that, and why did I have to hear that Canadian national anthem?
Oh, I mean, it wasn't sanctioned, first off. You got 2 Latvians and a kid from China on their team, so it's not a sanctioned event. It's not IHF rules, so it doesn't count. It's completely void, and then yesterday we had a little rematch, and we lost again, but it also wasn't sanctioned because we got guys from Europe. I didn't know it was Canada-Europe. Like, we'll take the Latvians next time and Zonger, and we'll go to work and win.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Semik, for spending some time with us. Continue the fun, continue the good play, and let's get into that national tournament.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott.
Appreciate it, man.
Welcome back in, college hockey fans in the Desert Southwest. Is College Hockey Southwest Weekly, the podcast. Paul Hornstein still out on Long Island. Scott Strandy still here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Just had a chance to hear our 2 freshmen defensemen, Jack Judson, Jacob Semik. The coaches call them affectionately, as I said, the twins. They live together. They do everything together. Is pretty much what Jack told me. But they've been really good on the ice. I joked with Jacob Semik in the beginning of it. I said, Jacob, when I asked Coach Powers how his defensive pairings were going to go this year, he said, I got a couple of good ones. And I said, oh, you mean Maniscalco and Paschnik? He goes, no, I mean Semik and Judson. So that's what he told me in April when he knew these guys were coming in. He expected big things out of them. And I kept hearing this as kind of a common theme now running through all the Pitchfork profiles. All the players are saying, what I really like about this program is that Coach Powers is honest with us. He doesn't promise anything. He just tells us straight up the way it is. And that's what he told Jacob Semik, too. He said, come here. You're going to get an opportunity to play. I'm not going to tell you how much ice time you get or what pairing you're going to be on or how that's going to go. But come here, work hard, and you got your shot. And all the players, to a man, I mean, you heard it from Max Project last week. He was just ecstatic about playing for Coach Powers. So without a building at this point, the draw is Arizona State's campus, the weather, and Coach Powers. That's the three things that are the draw right now. And how long can they go on that? I don't know. But
I don't know.
If you got a coach like that's that well received by his players, that certainly can't hurt.
Well, winning also helps too. Let's not forget that.
Right. But the coaches have a lot to do with winning because they have to recruit the players and put them together. So,
but I mean, the fact is, when you win, it makes it a lot easier for everybody to. But that takes work on the players' part too.
But one thing on that is, if you heard Jack Judson say, and Coach Powers told me that, he said he was one of my first recruits, one of my first commits many years ago. Now it's only been 5 years, but Jack Judson committed to ASU when he was 16 years old. And I asked him about that. I said, what did you know about the program? And he said, well, I knew that they weren't very good, but I knew they were going to be very good down the road. And so he took a year off, a gap year from school to college, played juniors, came on board, one of the youngest players, a true freshman. And look what he's doing. So, I mean, that's some pretty good, impressive scouting, if you ask me.
Well, listen, the two of them have been really, really good. They've had a couple of spots where they've hit a freshman wall, like most freshmen do. It happens. It's not unexpected. It's not out of the ordinary. But those spots have been minimal.
And you know what? When they've hit those spots, Paul, you and I have both noticed that they've adjusted the lines sometimes.
Yeah.
They've moved them to different partners.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it does. But now they're back together again, and they're even seeing some time on the power play, which we talked about.
They're going to be an important pair for ASU for the next 2 years at least after this. I mean, you never know what happens in the future, but the odds are they're going to be here at least 2 years. They're going to be a big time pair for this team. And, Brinson Pashnuk graduates after this year and runs out of eligibility. He'll be in the pro ranks somewhere at some point. And, so Josh Maniscalco is going to have another partner if he's here.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's
and
here.
We don't know that.
And we don't know that either. So it's very likely that next year, or not very likely, it's possible that next year these two kids will be the number one D pair, depending on how it breaks down. Yeah. So, and they don't have, at least as far as I can tell, a lot of defensemen coming in next year. So
no, but what they do have, Paul, is Max Ballinson hasn't seen the ice at all this year. Gavito Janssens is going to be a senior. He'll be an important part of the defensive core.
And he was really good. Vito was really good on Saturday night.
He was very good.
When he saw a lot of ice time in the second and third periods, and he was really, really good.
Well, what would you expect? He's my favorite married Latvian.
You better hope that they stay. One stays married and one stays not married. Because what are you going to do then with your favorite married and unmarried Latvian routine? What are you going to do then there, Mr. Magic Number?
We'll worry about that when that happens.
Yeah.
By the way, the magic number is 9 right now, Paul.
Anyway.
I see you trying to drum up support everywhere with that stuff, but we've counted it down. We started at 24. We're down to 9. 10 games left. Again, folks, I'm going to tell you, everybody asks me, they get a message, they say, is that what it's going to require to get in the tournament? No, not necessarily. What that number is what I looked at the season, and I said, with the competition they're playing, based on what I see at the beginning of the year, that's what it's going to require. But that doesn't mean that they won't get in with 21 or 22 or 23. It all depends.
Well, let's put it this way. Okay. For your magic number to be the quote-unquote magic number, that means 9 out of their last 10 games here, they'd have to win.
Well, let me tell you how I think they can do it. I think they get a split at Clarkson.
Well,
I think they come home and they sweep Robert Morris. I think they go on the road and they sweep Bentley and who else are they playing up there? Bentley Holy Cross in your backyard, basically.
Anything this side of the Mississippi is my backyard compared to you. So let's.
And then they come home. They got Alaska Anchorage, which isn't going to be easy, but they can handle them. So then it comes down to Wisconsin and deja vu, because last year they were in the same boat going to Minnesota, and Minnesota took a whooping to them, but Minnesota had something to play for. I don't know what Wisconsin's going to have to play for this year. I don't know what Wisconsin is, to be honest with you.
I don't think anybody does, but that's 6 weeks down the line. So
yeah,
I don't even. I like the coach. Am focused on this week at Clarkson. Fortunately,
which you have to be.
Yeah.
But from my end of it, you gotta kind of speculate and kind of formulate and decide whether this team is deserving of it. Well, I agree. One at a time. But the bottom line of it is that you still have to find the quote #new gear, which I think they found, and we're going to find out this weekend.
They're going to need to have that new gear. They're going to have to.
And they're going to need to have that new gear in the tournament. Let's face it, this is a tournament game right now.
Listen, every game for them right now is a tournament game. This is a chance for them to do a lot of I don't want to say damage, because that's not really the right word, but this is a chance for them to solidify where they are right now in the pairwise. Clarkson is 8. This is going to be the last opponent that will be ahead of ASU in the pairwise.
By a long shot.
It's not even close.
Yeah. We're talking 30s, 40s, and 50s for the rest of the teams.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the last weekend where you can do minimal damage to yourself and only strengthen yourself, because from here on out, missteps will cost you a lot. You can deflect some of the damage if you can get one of the 2 games this weekend, because road losses don't really hurt you as much as home losses do. And when you win on the road against a team that's higher than you in the pairwise, that helps you a lot.
Yes. And we said it all year. Coaches said it all year. It's like the goal going in is to win every game, but you're happy with a split on the road and sweep home. And we both know the sweeps at home have been a little bit of a struggle starting from the very opening weekend. So you have to take care of business. We said it all along that first night loss would be a stinger, and they were going to have to do something special. Well, maybe this is a weekend they do something special.
They almost got it against Denver.
Yeah, and if they get the sweep against Clarkson, my goodness, that could really elevate them to a point where I don't know that they would lose the spot unless they were to go 0 for the last 6 games.
I think let's work on getting one. This is the kind of team you're playing this weekend. This is a team that's got a power play percentage of almost 25% conversion rate, which says, of course, as we say every week, must stay out of the penalty box. You can't get caught up in silliness after whistles. You can't get yourself caught out of position. You have to continue to move your feet, especially in the defensive zone, because this team will kill you on the power play. They've got 2 guys with 6 power play goals on their team. They've got another guy who's got 5, okay? And they're converting 1 out of every 4 power plays. And on the penalty kill, they're at 92% killing the penalties. And, we've seen in the last few weeks where ASU's power play has really struggled. And ASU is normally able to be and play with anybody 5-on-5. So
agree.
That is your best chance to win. They've got 3 guys that have 20-plus points. They have another 3 guys that are in double digits as well. And their goaltending has been off the charts. Frank Marat, who's a grad transfer from Robert Morris, has got a 1.77 goals against average and a .938 save percentage. So you're not getting very many easy ones against this team either. and they will choke you if you don't play the right way.
Yep, I think, and that's, once again, I'm going to go right back to my new hashtag, new gear. That's what they're going to have to play with, is that new gear that they found. It's like getting yourself a sports car, right? And you get into it and you know how it goes at drive, but that's that next gear that gets you down the road, right? That's what this team showed me last week, and I hope they continue to show it, because that's what they're going to need to do. Secondly, and finally, is goaltending. I had an opportunity to ask a written question to Coach Powers. I asked him who was going to be in goal. He gave me the standard coach answer, as you would suspect, that it would be the best goaltender that would give him a chance to win. But I think we both know it's probably going to be Evan DeBrouwer,
probably,
at least on Friday night. And the one thing I like about it, Paul, is I think that both of the goaltenders have proven that they can win some big games. So it's a matter of who's hot. I'm going to say this again. I'm going to beat a dead horse like I've been doing all year long. It's important that they play Friday, Saturday, and that they get basically a full 24 hours in between. I know Leanne is good. I know she's great at what she does. I know that both teams have to play it, but that's not the same. And here's why it's not the same. The teams are different, right? The teams play different schedules coming into the weekend and coming out of the weekend. They don't always play the same. ASU played 6 straight weeks to Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. So now you're back to Friday, Saturday. It's your normal routine. You do your classwork. Kudos to ASU for flying in, as we already mentioned, on a charter, because Pottsdam is not easy to get to. Get in, get out, and get your job done, right? It's a business trip like never before. Clarkson is not to be taken lightly, as we've talked about, and this series is huge. So here we go. Let's see what happens this weekend. Couple of housekeeping notes just to throw out there before we wrap things up today is that we're working real hard on improving things and growing things around here. We're going to be trying out some new things and may hear some new voices coming up in the future with our introduction or our close and some of the tie-ins. I want to shout out again to our friends at College Bar and Grill that are now located on Mill Avenue. And for all indications, I haven't had a chance to get down to the new site yet, but for all indications, it's a nice step up, let's say, because the crowd on Mill is a lot more than the crowd on College.
Yeah, well.
So that's a good thing.
Especially when there's no classes involved. School's not in session.
Yeah, and now that school is in session, it's a big deal. So good news on that front. We're also looking forward to getting our friends from Roger Klein and Mexican Moonshine Tequila on board with us. Roger is doing a little rebranding, so hopefully that's coming down the pike soon. Our friends at Sprint have been awesome, giving us the best technology that we could possibly get, making everything a little smoother for us. We look forward to improving that down the road. Our friends at Oceanside, always there for us. We know they're working on trying to get some those gold jerseys in and maybe some black jerseys and good stuff too, because fans want them.
Yeah, they do.
Our friends over Behind the Mask always keeping us with some good jackets and gear and things like that we need. Our friends up at the Ice Den in Scottsdale and Chandler, the home of the Phoenix Coyotes practice facility.
What?
Yeah, sorry, Arizona Coyotes. Good catch, Paul.
What?
The Arizona Coyotes. Sorry
about
that.
You are going to get that email, boy. You were going to get that message from the president, CEO. And
nice
he's going to be
catch.
Like, yeah, he's
nice
going to be like,
catch.
You let the New Yorker catch you on that?
Can we call them just the Scottsdale? Let's just call them the Scottsdale Coyotes.
Coward.
All right. And then our friends over at M Drive for keeping us charged up, and also our friends over at OxyPal. Fantastic Fridays are back. Unfortunately, we do not do the Fantastic Fridays with the NCAA players just to avoid any potential for violations. We will not select them. So when people had asked me, how come you don't have an NCAA player? That's the reason.
Why?
So our ACHA players have worked very hard to achieve their goals, so it's nice to reward them with a little something from OxyPow. So I think I got all the bases covered now, Paul.
Yeah, I think we're good for now. We'll figure it out.
We'll keep rocking and rolling. So until next week, let's get a sweep at Clarkson and come back here talking about a magic number of 7.
1.
Good night, folks. Have a good evening.
Night.